In this lecture clip, you'll hear Mark and I discussing the concept of pattern matching. We both agree that this is the single most important psychological principle we teach. It illuminates how so many problems work, like panic attacks, phobias, PTSD, sexual fetishes, even memory itself. And we've chopped it out from the first lecture in our Uncommon Hypnotherapy course, so you can enjoy it here. See what you think, and do let us know in the comments.
Okay, so when you experience anything in life, then your brain tries to make sense of it by matching it to something similar in the past to give you the right emotional response. And we call this a pattern match. So how useful or appropriate this match is will correspond with how mentally healthy you are. So on a very basic level, a newborn baby will pattern match a nipple to the instinct of suckling. And this is a good pattern match. A sloppy pattern match would be if a baby pattern matched suckling to something that wasn't a nipple, but was a bit like a nipple, such as a plastic teat on a bottle of milk. And we can see here that the pattern matching process needs to be sloppy so we can be adaptive in the world. But if there's a faulty pattern match, then the person has a problem. So if you stick your finger in a baby's mouth, then the baby may try and suckle on the finger, but of course it won't get any milk from the finger. So this is a faulty pattern match. It's not working for the baby. Other examples of faulty pattern matches include phobias or even sexual fetishes, smoking and panic attacks. The wrong emotional response, if you like, is wheeled out to the wrong stimulus. So the smoker may pattern match having a pint of beer to smoking, for example. There's no logical connection, but the faulty link has been programmed into the smoker's mind. And the phobic may pattern match the sight of a children's balloon to having an automatic panic attack. And this is a faulty link. It's a faulty pattern match, and it's the heart of all psychological problems. Some pattern matches are hardwired, such as the suckle response I mentioned with a newborn baby, and some are trained into us through what we'll come to see as natural hypnotic experiences. Stage hypnotists like to produce faulty pattern matches for the amusement of the crowds, as when they, for example, hypnotize someone to produce the feelings of physical attraction for a broom or some other object. Hypnotherapy, and in fact all types of psychotherapy, really seek to change unhelpful pattern matches to helpful and useful ones. Hypnosis is the best way of doing this because pattern matching itself is essentially a naturally hypnotic human process. And when we work with someone, we want to change a faulty pattern match, such as feeling sick with fear during public speaking, to a helpfully adaptive response, such as feeling calm and confident and in the zone when talking in public.
Excellent. So we can see that pattern matching in its simplest form is an instinctive response to a trigger. And that trigger can be anything from a spider, the scent of your favourite food, or a thought. Pattern matching helps us negotiate reality and works for our survival, while at the same time can cause us emotional complications through faulty pattern matches. So now we'll go back to Mark for an explanation of exactly what hypnosis is and how it involves the rapid eye movement state of dreaming.
Okay, it's a curious thing that many people who use hypnosis claim that it's a mystery, that we still don't know what hypnosis is, but actually you're going to learn exactly what it is. Hypnosis happens when your REM state is triggered. A REM stands for rapid eye movement, which can be observed beneath the eyelids in a dreaming person. But the paradox here is that we can also experience REM outside of sleep. Sometimes you'll observe the eyelids flickering from side to side underneath the lids when you hypnotize somebody. So the same thing seems to be happening. So let's look at some of the similarities between REM sleep and what we might call wakeful REM, otherwise known as hypnosis. One similarity between REM sleep and hypnosis is the experience of what we call catalepsy. Eyelid and body catalepsy occurs in both sleep REM and hypnosis, so the eyelids or even the whole body can become cataleptic during hypnosis, which is one reason for those old black and white photos of hypnotized subjects being suspended stiff as a board between two chairs. It's not a good idea to actually do that to somebody, but it can be possible with deeply hypnotized subjects because they're going deep into the REM state. What they're experiencing is hypnotically induced REM catalepsy. It also happens naturally, as when your clients may say they feel heavy after you've hypnotized them, or their hands feel numb. And the reason catalepsy happens when you dream at night is to prevent you acting out your dreams. The anti-gravity muscles need to be inhibited so that they don't move, so the body becomes very still, a kind of natural paralysis. Another similarity between hypnosis and REM sleep, as I've mentioned, is the rapid eye movement itself. And a direct way of inducing hypnosis was, traditionally, to swing a watch in front of someone to get them remming artificially. Of course, another parallel is the activation of the imagination. When we're in REM sleep, the imagination is fired absolutely and produces dreams. You might not think of that as your imagination working, but in reality it is. And hypnosis will often produce very dreamlike experiences through the imagination in the mind. And as we know, there's a fast-track way into hypnosis as well, which occurs through the unexpected use of shock. So when something so unusual happens that for a split second we can't actually make a pattern match to it because there's no precedent for such an unusual stimulus. So really we can think of this as there's a meaning vacuum. There's no pattern match. Something very surprising or unexpected happens. You have no idea what's going on. And the hypnotist may fill that meaning vacuum with a hypnotic command, which is more likely to be acted upon. So you hypnotize someone in order to teach them something new, whether that's how not to smoke or panic or whatever that might be. It's really a learning mode that we're getting someone into, even though they don't always know they're learning. But why should it be that we learn so quickly through the REM state? Well, curiously enough, most REM actually happens before birth in the last 3 months that you spend in the womb. And it's during this time that many of our instincts are laid down. So it makes sense then, in order to learn instinctively, to re-enter the REM state during life, to update emotional responses. And we do this by entering what we call hypnosis.
Okay, so to summarize, REM is a state where new instinctive templates can be created and old templates updated, and it's accessed through shock, high emotion, hypnosis, or other highly focused states.
Yes, and when your focus of attention narrows down on something, whether that's a person or an idea or an expectation, then you instantly become more suggestible. So being suggestible simply means being more open to a type of learning. And as Roger stated there, all emotions lock attention. And also when we experience that, they make us more suggestible, which is why the uncommon understanding of emotional states is that they're actually naturally occurring hypnotic states.
So when our attention gets locked, we enter a hypnotic state, and that can be for a few seconds or it can be for some time. And we can see that hypnotic states are available to us all the time, especially when someone is focused through emotion, pain, or deep relaxation. So now we're going to look at how we actually hypnotize and examine the phenomenally useful principle of utilization.
So an uncommon hypnotist, which is what you're going to be, is able to use whatever the subject brings to the situation. This is called the utilization principle. So rather than always having to inflexibly work from preset inductions or, even worse, read a script to someone, we can creatively tailor our approach to the unique person in front of us. For example, today I hypnotized a woman by re-evoking the experience of her learning to ride a bicycle because she found the experience so positive. It was a tailored, personal, individual hypnotic induction. So rather than always having set inductions, we can actually make a hypnotic induction out of anything as long as it appeals to the person being hypnotized. So one of the easiest and most rapport-building ways to hypnotize is simply to re-evoke a positive experience that your client has had at some point that they've told you about. So when you re-evoke an experience hypnotically through your imagination, your body will start to access the way it actually felt in the original time. So if we look at it from perhaps a more negative perspective, if you recall the time that you felt very angry, your blood pressure will actually rise, even though you're no longer in the original anger-inducing situation. And this actually is a hypnotic effect. And if someone strongly recalls in hypnosis being very relaxed on a warm beach, maybe the summer before, their skin temperature will rise, perhaps because it was a lovely warm day. Their immune function will improve because it works better when they relax, and their body and mind will align itself back to that pleasant experience. So your body, to some extent, follows what your mind does as far as hypnosis and imagination is concerned. And because it's an experience they had, then it will be easier for them to access. So we're utilizing their experience. We're not trying to get them to experience something they may never have experienced before, which is what a lot of inductions try to get people to do. The important thing is that you're flexible and adaptive because these traits allow you to be much more effective as a hypnotherapist.
Okay, so now you can begin to see how these three things fit together. How the unconscious mind produces pattern matches, how this connects to the REM state, and how we can utilize people's individual experience to produce effective hypnotic experiences for them. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from Lecture 1 of Uncommon Hypnotherapy and that it's encouraged you to look more deeply into the Uncommon Hypnotherapy course. You can find out more about it by clicking the button below this video. Thanks for watching.